The story takes us to the main square of a tribe with a pretty rustic old-school vibe. From a distance, we see a group of guys surrounding a girl, while one of them says she's still shaking. As we get a closer look, we realize she's a fox girl, and a guy tries to get handsy with her. All of a sudden, our protagonist wakes up, screaming for no one to touch him. Liuani gets up, confused, wondering who was yelling over there. Clutching his head, our hero complains about being dizzy and wonders where he is. At the same time, one of the guys gets ticked off, saying the girl bit him and yelling for them to take her out. Our protagonist is totally clueless about what's going on. Just then, he steps out of the hut and comes face to face with the strange men. One of them complains that the girl is just a slave and says it's no wonder Liuani hates her. Then the crowd starts to gossip, saying that Liuani is no saint either. Liuani then wonders if he's been transmigrated into a novel. He realizes the girl being mistreated is the female lead, Kufu. Then our boy remembers the novel's name was The Villain's Heroines Are Obsessed with Me. When one of the guys turns and calls him Liuani, our protagonist finally puts two and two together. In that moment, it dawns on him like a bolt of lightning that he's the villain of the story. With that, the guy hands a club to our hero. He says the runaway slave has been caught, and now it's Liuani's turn to deal with her. The protagonist thinks to himself that the villain in the novel only lasted for 3 days, and that this is a total rip-off. A bright light appears. A massive pillar of energy descends from the sky. A floating sphere then appears and introduces itself as Du Ding, the plot system. The system explains that our boy's mission is to reform the villainesses so they fall in love with him. Liuani is shocked and asks if the system got the story wrong. Du Ding warns him that if a villainess's corruption value reaches 5 stars, it's going to be game over for him instantly. The system then alerts him that the female lead's corruption value is rising way too fast. One of the guys finds it odd that Liuani is just standing there and tells him to watch his performance. He strikes her. Our protagonist yells, asking what in the world he's doing. The guy is startled by the protagonist's shout. Liuani then steps in front of the girl and says he'd like to see who dares to bully her. Out of nowhere, a green-haired woman shows up with a smug tone. She seems surprised to see Liuani protecting Kufu. The system warns that the corruption value is rising even faster, and our hero can't figure out why. Liuani calls himself an idiot for not realizing that he is now Kufu's biggest enemy. With that in mind, he completely changes his strategy. Our protagonist says the girl is his and that no one has the right to interfere. The guys conclude that Liuani hasn't changed and is just being possessive. Our boy then tells everyone to stay away from her and threatens anyone who dares to touch her again. The fox girl finds this suspicious. Looks over at her. The girl is confused by his attitude and eyes him warily. He then tells her to hurry up and go back home while the system congratulates him. Our protagonist yells at her, asking if she thinks he's a patient man. The girl clutches a sharp rock in her hand. Kufu gets up and faces the protagonist with a look of distrust. Our hero and the fox girl turn and walk away, being watched from a distance. The mysterious green-haired woman comments that this Liuani is getting pretty interesting. Liuani acts like the original villain and threatens the girl, telling her to pick up the pace. The poor fox girl looks exhausted, barely able to stay on her feet. However, she suddenly stumbles and falls. Our hero thinks she's in a pitiful state and that he needs to save her somehow. Back at his place, our boy sits on his bed and talks to the system. He asks the system if there's a starter pack or something of the sort. The system complains that he only has 10 points but opens the item shop anyway. Liuani thinks that with so few points, he won't be able to buy anything useful. He then decides to buy a set of women's clothing that costs only 2 points. Our protagonist wonders why she hasn't woken up since it's been 3 days. Suddenly, Kufu begins to slowly open her eyes and the system happily announces that the fox girl is finally awake. Liuani is relieved to see that she's okay. He approaches with a bowl of food and tells her to drink up. All of a sudden, her corruption value starts to skyrocket, sending our hero into a panic. The corruption points are rising because she thinks there's poison in it. Liuani fakes a cough. He then continues the act and yells for Kufu to drink it all, or he'll make her swallow it himself. With that, the guy hands her the bowl and threatens to throw her out if she doesn't drink the medicine right away. Scared, the girl starts drinking the strange liquid, even though she thinks this is the end for her. After finishing, she asks what else he wants from her. The fox girl then thinks she's going to perish and that there's no way to survive. At this, she grows desperate and thinks it would be better to end things herself. Our hero realizes what she's planning and threatens her, saying not to even think about it. He leaves a plate full of food for her. As he leaves, a green snake watches her and questions him about the clothes and the food. The reptile then begins to glow and change shape while thinking about our boy. The snake transforms into a woman with green hair and a stunning figure. She remembers feeling something different about him, but thinks it's probably nothing. Other fox girls appear and call the woman Jenny to come pick some fruit. Jenny agrees and gives the other girls a wicked smile. Liuani asks the girl if she even deserves food. He says she looks like she's been digging through the trash and tells her to hurry up and change her clothes. The protagonist threatens her, saying that if she leaves a single crumb, he'll dump it all on her head. The corruption goes up by 1 point, and the system says she still thinks the food is poisoned. Our hero wonders just how badly the previous owner treated her. He picks up the chicken leg and says she doesn't deserve to eat it, then devours it himself. Our protagonist then leaves and locks the door, is surprised by his reaction. Suddenly, Fu leaps towards the food our hero left behind. She then starts to wolf down the chicken leg. Eating desperately, she gets emotional. She then starts to cry while continuing to eat, realizing there's no poison. The system happily announces that Ku Fu's corruption value has decreased for the first time. Our boy wonders how the body's previous owner could treat such a beautiful girl so horribly. He looks at his own reflection and complains about his dirty and unkempt appearance. The system explains that the original Liuani's description was very brief and that it doesn't remember it. Then, the system says the novel's character hadn't bathed in 3 months, which totally grosses our hero out. Liuani then accepts his defeat and asks if he can spend 1 point to buy some shower gel. Our boy accepts the deal, and the system hands over the bath items to him. He takes the opportunity to buy a first aid kit for 1 point to take care of the fox girl. The system informs him that all items from the shop can be used forever, which surprises our boy. Our protagonist asks the system if dinner has been delivered to Kufu yet. Believing she's already finished eating, he kicks the door to the room wide open. The fox girl gets spooked by him and stops eating. The protagonist wonders why she hasn't eaten yet, and the system reminds him that she's still injured. In a menacing tone, the protagonist scolds her, asking if she dares to leave leftovers. With a creepy smile, he says she'll remember what happens to those who leave leftovers. He gives her a terrifying stare, and she breaks out in a cold sweat, terrified of the protagonist. He sits down next to her while she eats the rest of the food in terror. Our hero then pulls something out of his pocket. Kufu believes he's found a new way to hurt her. He grabs her and dabs her leg with a cotton ball, and the poor girl thinks it's poison. Our protagonist thinks it's better for her to believe he's hurting her than for him to try and explain. The protagonist keeps taunting her while she's eating. Liuani then takes her hand and tends to her injuries, saying that all of her wounds are going to sting. Soon, he finishes treating her wounds. Our hero says he's done applying the medicine and that he's leaving. Kufu is surprised and realizes that what he put on her body was medicine. She hurries and yells for him to wait before he leaves the room and leaves her alone. She asks him if this isn't his room. Outside, our hero shivers from the cold and convinces himself that enduring the cold night will be worth it. He thinks that when she wakes up and sees her wounds healed, her corruption value will drop significantly. The system then explains that the score is divided into corruption and affection, and that he only has 7 points left. Our boy confidently says he doesn't need to worry, because he's sure to get a ton of points when Kufu wakes up. Suddenly, he hears a strange noise coming from the hut. Furious, he yells that she's an ungrateful backstabber. Liuani is angry that he didn't gain a single point even after helping the fox girl. Our hero gets lost in thought. He then complains about his own smell, and says the original owner of this body was a total slob. Our boy then compliments himself, saying that if he were clean and well-dressed, any woman would fall for him. With this idea, the protagonist decides to take a bath to improve his appearance. He then exchanges 1 point for a bath kit so he can finally get clean. The next day, Kufu wakes up to the sound of the door opening and is taken aback. Liuani appears at the door, all cleaned up and smelling great. Kufu is shocked by his sudden change and doesn't even recognize him. Our hero shows off and asks if she doesn't find him incredibly handsome and attractive. Suddenly, Kufu backs away in fear and her corruption begins to rise again. Our protagonist doesn't understand why the corruption points are going up. He then realizes that if a handsome stranger suddenly appeared, he'd be suspicious too. Yuani punches the wall. Our hero yells and asks why she's still wearing the same old rags. He continues his act and criticizes her for wearing old, dirty clothes. Protagonist grabs her by the shoulder. Lily Yuani thinks that she has some serious trauma and that it's going to be tough to help her. The fox girl looks at him with fear and suspicion. With that, our hero yells and tells her to hurry up and get changed already. She tries to say she needs to cook, but he cuts her off, saying her cooking is terrible. The protagonist throws her onto the bed and tells her not to cook anymore. Our boy then leaves, frustrated that he can't seem to gain any affection points. Peeks through the door, confused by his behavior. She looks at the new clothes he left on the bed. Kufu remembers how badly he used to treat her and how he suddenly changed. Kufu wonders why he didn't punish her and even gave her new, clean clothes. She looks at her hand and notices the wounds are better than before. Her conscience warns her not to be fooled into thinking he cares about her. The fox girl then convinces herself that he's just planning something worse for her. She clutches the red dress and convinces herself that she can't trust him. Our hero stops walking. Eliuani says that women like pretty clothes and that she'll cheer up and the points will go up. But the system informs him that her corruption value has gone up a little more, leaving him shocked. Our protagonist throws himself on the ground in frustration and says he's going to give up because she's impossible to deal with. Our hero then starts practicing his villain act, declaring that it's Kufyu's unlucky day for running into him. He continues his charade, saying that if she serves him well, he'll grant her a quick and painless end so her suffering will be brief. Switching gears, our boy asks the system if his performance was cruel enough, and Doing confirms it was more than enough. Our MC explains that to stay in character, nobody knows the amount of effort he puts in behind the scenes. With that, Liuani and the system get all hyped up, shouting that they'll do whatever it takes to survive in this world. Back at his house, our hero yells that he's home and asks where everyone is, wondering where that fox girl has run off to again. Just then, Kufyu appears from behind a curtain, saying in a timid voice that she's right there and didn't run away. Our protagonist then starts walking menacingly toward her to keep up his cruel villain persona. Liuani scolds her, telling her to take a bath and change her clothes because she's embarrassing him by being so filthy. Kufyu kneels on the floor, terrified, and he complains about her gathering firewood, saying her wounds might reopen from the effort. Kufyu is left completely baffled by this, unsure how to react to our hero's strange behavior. Our boy then points to the fire and orders her to go get completely cleaned up for him without any backtalk, then feeds the firewood into the flames. Kufyu agrees but thinks she was foolish to believe he had changed and that he'll never truly be different. Next up, our boy starts preparing her bath with hot water. Then he tells her to hurry up and get in the bath. She gets embarrassed, but to stay in character, Liuani insults her, saying other girls are way prettier, which makes the system call him a weirdo. Our protagonist then yells at her to hurry up and get washed while Doing confirms he's being weird again. With no choice, Kufyu obeys and begins to undress to get into the bath. Carefully, Kufyu dips her foot into the hot water to test the temperature. Once in the water, Kufyu starts to wonder what he'll want from her tonight after all this. Outside, Liuani is freaking out because Kufyu alone is a handful, and he still has to deal with 6 more villainesses. He complains that he wanted to be a hero, not some simp, but the system cheers him up, saying he'll have 7 strong female warriors. With that, our MC gets a new surge of determination and says that being a simp is just part of the journey for the greater good. Later that night, Kufyu appears at the door and tells our boy that she's finished her bath, just as he ordered. When he turns and looks at her, our hero is left completely shocked and speechless. Kufyu appears in the new dress and shyly asks if this new outfit looks weird on her. Her face turns bright red as she waits for our protagonist's response, who remains silent, just observing her. Liuani says it's passable, but inside he's freaking out and already planning to buy her a bunch of other outfits. Kufyu doesn't understand his reaction and thinks he didn't like how it turned out, getting really sad about it. To keep up his act, our hero orders Kufyu to go to his room to watch over him while he sleeps, which surprises her. He then makes an over-the-top threat, saying that if she isn't there when he wakes up, he'll give her a severe punishment. With that, the two of them head to the room, and the system Doing announces that the act worked and her corruption has stopped growing. Our boy warns her not to mess with the buckets, because if she gets hurt again, he'll have to spend more money on her. Kufyu then understands that he's just afraid of spending money in case she gets hurt and sick again. But for some reason, she feels happy about it. Even though she thinks it's about the money, she understands his concern in the end. Kufyu cries with relief because even though her escape failed, her life isn't as hard as it used to be. At that moment, Doing informs him that her corruption has dropped significantly, earning him 10 points and unlocking the level 2 system shop. Our protagonist cries tears of joy and hugs the system, which congratulates him and says their plan is working. In that instant, a new determination sparks in Liuani's eyes as he sees his plan is finally paying off. He thinks that one day she'll understand that he's not the same person he was before, and that now, he just wants to see her happy and smiling. After a long day, our hero tries to relax in his bed to get some rest, but he quickly snaps his eyes open. And there he sees Kufyu in his bed, looking like she has other plans for the night. Blushing beet red, jumps out of bed and asks what she's doing. Kufyu replies that he was the one who told her to come sleep with him. He scrambles to his feet, flustered, while Kufyu is just confused by his reaction. Liuani denies everything and tries to stop his nosebleed to avoid total embarrassment. With the system warning him of the danger, he insults her to maintain his evil villain act. She then questions his attitude, since his actions seem to imply something else entirely. Our protagonist flips out and lectures her for getting the wrong idea. Angrily, he tells her to sleep on the bed while he takes the floor, far away. He then pushes her onto the bed, and she wonders if she's really allowed to sleep there. Our hero complains about the bed and says he's sleeping on the floor. Kufyu asks if they're still going to do anything, and he just tells her to shut up and go to sleep. With that, our boy lies down on the hard floor with just a single blanket. Just accepts it and lies down. However, she soon falls asleep, and for the first time, she feels safe and at peace. But during the night, Kufyu starts having a terrible nightmare. In her dream, she remembers a huge fire that destroyed her old village. Everyone was running desperately to escape the flames that consumed everything. Little Kufyu cried uncontrollably as she tried to escape that inferno. During her escape, she's hit by an arrow and falls to the ground, too weak to get up. Just like that, she's captured by two men who throw her into a cage to be sold. Kufyu suffered greatly, reliving all the pain and hardship she's been through. Back in the present, Kufyu thrashes in bed as a dark energy surrounds her. Our protagonist wakes up from the noise, and the system warns that it's hard to wake her up. He asks if Doing can see her dream, and the system says her corruption is just getting worse. The system then explains that she's from a noble bloodline but was sold as a slave. Our boy remembers that the trauma sealed away part of her powers and gently wipes away her tears. Liuani then notices that the wound on Kufyu's leg still hasn't healed. With that, our protagonist grabs his first aid kit to treat her wound. He then applies some medicine to Kufyu's leg to speed up the healing process. Our hero watches Kufyu, who even in her sleep, can still feel the pain from the injury. In her dream, Kufyu feels a terrible pain and believes he's hurting her on purpose. She thinks this was all just a plan to get her to lower her guard, so he could attack her in her sleep. But with eyes full of hatred, she just wishes he would get it over with already. The pain is so intense that Kufyu complains even a pig would have woken up by now, so she tries to grab a piece of something sharp. Meanwhile, our hero has already finished treating her and is now sound asleep on the floor. Kufyu then wakes up full of rage and decides to get her revenge for him, torturing her. But before she can attack, she feels a strange itching coming from her wound. When she checks it, she's surprised to see the wound is now almost completely healed. At that moment, Kufyu realizes that the painful stuff he was putting on her was actually medicine. Understanding the truth, her affection value for him increases because he was only trying to help her. A new morning begins at our hero's house. But Doing wakes him up in a panic, yelling that something really bad has happened. The system then reveals that the original story's protagonist has also been transported to this world. Our boy panics because that so-called hero is the guy who used to mistreat Kufyu in the past. Doing also warns that with his skills, he'll blow past our hero's progress in no time. Liuani complains that Kufyu alone is already a handful, and the system warns that if the other guy wins, they'll be erased. The system gets all worked up about the possibility being deleted by the main system. But our protagonist thinks for a moment and comes up with a brilliant idea to handle the situation. He explains that his strategy is working since he gained 30 points and the story has already changed. Full of confidence, Liuani declares that the other guy will have to get through him first. Our hero then decides to play it cool and just keep an eye on this new rival who has appeared. Meanwhile, Kufyu hears him talking to himself and wonders who he's talking to. Lin walks over to Kufyu's bed. He gently pats her on the head and tells her to sleep well and wait for him. With that, our protagonist leaves the room to deal with his problems, leaving her to rest. Kufyu wakes up, confused, wondering what our hero meant by those kind words. Meanwhile, in a forest, our protagonist is already putting a new plan into action. He's thinking of bringing Kufyu here and staging a beast attack so he can save her heroically. But our boy suddenly stops, sensing that someone is watching him from nearby in the forest. Startled, he shouts for whoever is there to show themselves immediately and stop hiding. Cautiously, our hero approaches the bushes to find out who the mysterious spy is. Just then, a hand emerges from the bushes, and a voice asks him not to attack, saying they're from the same tribe. A green-haired wolf woman then appears and says his singing sounded like a wailing ghost. She recognizes him from the town square and asks if he's Liuani, confirming his identity. Our embarrassed protagonist explains that he was just singing to pass the time and apologizes. The other girls comment that they heard he was ugly, but he's actually pretty cute. Our boy hears everything and gets all proud and happy with their compliments. The green-haired woman says he's changed a lot and seems like a completely different person. Our hero then seizes the moment and asks for the three girls' names. They introduce themselves and Xiaoyuan offers him a watermelon. Our protagonist tries to refuse the watermelon, saying he absolutely can't accept the gift. But Xiaoyuan insists, saying they got a bunch of them from the mountain and that he should try some. She then suggests he take some for Kufyu to try too, which catches him by surprise. Our hero activates his villain mode and says Kufyu is not worthy of tasting it, and Doing praises him for his acting. With that, Xiaoyuan calls her friends, and they decide it's time for them to leave. As she says goodbye, Xiaoyuan gives our protagonist one last smile before leaving with the others. Our boy then waves goodbye to them as they walk away. Alone again, he's lost in thought after this unexpected encounter with the girls in the forest. Li Yuani asks the system if there was ever a character named Xiao Yuan in the original story. Doing says no, and that his charisma must have attracted other girls, and our hero gets all smug about it. Back in the kitchen, our hero complains that preparing a meal is always a pain. He realizes the flint box is empty and wonders how he's gonna light the firewood now. So Li Yuani asks Doing for help and wonders if he has a lighter he can borrow. The system grants his request, giving him a lighter in exchange for a single, measly system point. With a confident smirk, our protagonist gets ready to show off the great invention of the new era. Just then, Kufyu appears and asks if he's in the kitchen, which completely startles him. Trying to keep his cool, our hero confirms he's there while accidentally stepping on the lighter on the floor. But he quickly changes his tune and rudely asks what she wants. Kufyu timidly replies that she came to cook their meal. Li Yuani tells her to get cooking, that he's just practicing how to make a fire without any help. That he starts rubbing a stick against a piece of wood, trying to create a spark. Breaking into a cold sweat, he thinks that making a fire this way is super hard and hopes he doesn't embarrass himself in front of her. Seeing his struggle, Kufyu offers to help him and asks him to let her try. With a simple gesture, Kufyu uses her magic and creates a flame at her fingertips. Just like that, the firewood catches fire, and our protagonist is amazed at how incredible she is. He explains that although her strength hasn't fully recovered yet, she can still summon a small spark of fire without much effort. Our protagonist is thrilled and gets excited seeing real magic for the first time. Curious, he asks if she needs any hand gestures or incantations to use her magic. Kufyu explains that she doesn't, and that she just needs to concentrate her power and sync it with her will. Li Yuani is surprised and asks if she doesn't burn her fingers doing that. With a confused look, she simply replies that no, she never gets burned by the fire. Our hero then fires off a ton of questions about how to learn it and the costs of the skill. Kufyu is totally lost and doesn't understand a word he's saying because he's talking so fast. Suddenly, she starts blushing and begins to think our protagonist is kind of cute. But she quickly scolds herself for thinking that, remembering all the bad things he's done to her. Kufyu tries to remember how he used to treat her so she won't fall for his act. Meanwhile, our hero asks the system how to concentrate energy to use magic. Kufyu thinks that he's been acting differently, and the system offers to trade points for skills. She remembers he took care of her, and Li Yuani asks what skills he can buy now. Our hero complains that the ability to see just 10 seconds into the future is completely useless. Doing informs him that the skills can be upgraded. But our boy thinks it's too expensive and decides to put it off. In the meantime, Kufyu watches our protagonist and thinks that he's different now. With that, Kufyu continues cooking while thinking about his recent actions. She then realizes that he's quite handsome and smells nice, too. Our protagonist notices she's distracted and worries that her corruption might increase again. He quickly comes up with a brilliant idea to fix the situation and get her attention. So he grabs the watermelon he got earlier and shows it to Kufyu to distract her. Kufyu is surprised by the fruit and asks where he got that melon. He explains that he met a girl from the same tribe who gave him the fruit as a gift. Full of jealousy, she thinks that because he's handsome now, he just goes out and gets melons from other girls. Our hero says that women like fruit, and that she can have it since he doesn't like sweets. Angrily, Kufyu refuses the gift and says she doesn't want the watermelon at all. Keeping up his act, he asks if she really thinks she can refuse something he gives her and leaves the fruit on the table. Finally, he complains about the kitchen and leaves, telling her to prepare a decent meal for him. Outside, our hero asks the system if he was quick enough and if the situation is under control. But Doing warns that it detected a huge emotional fluctuation from Kufyu, but it's not corruption. Our protagonist is relieved by this while the system tries to figure out what this new emotion is. Meanwhile, Kufyu is dying of jealousy and complains that he accepts gifts from just anyone while glaring at the watermelon with a murderous look. Inside the house, our hero looks at the system screen with a grim face, not knowing what to do. Then he freaks out when he sees he only has 46 points and complains that there's no way he can improve like this. But Doing calms him down, saying that the 7 villainesses will show up soon, and then the points will come easily. Our protagonist gets excited about the idea and thinks that, if he wins them all over at once, the points will double. With that, our hero starts imagining all 7 corrupted girls and gets all giddy with the idea. But reality hits, and he remembers that Kufyu alone is a lot of work, and dealing with 7 would be insane. Then, in the tribe square, a man makes an announcement to all the locals. The elder explains that the men will go hunting while the women will harvest cotton under the watch of the warriors. Just then, our boy scans the crowd for Kufyu and quickly finds her among the other slaves. Kufyu doesn't look like she's in a very good mood. Li Yuani tries to get her attention and gives her a charming little wink to tease her. But to his surprise, Kufyu turns her head and completely ignores him, leaving him totally shocked by her attitude. Our hero can't believe it and complains that he just gave her a watermelon yesterday, and now this is how he's treated. Watching everyone leave, he wonders how much longer he'll have to keep pretending to be a big, bad villain. Finally, our protagonist complains that winning over women in real life is way harder than it is in the novels. 5 days pass and our hero waits in the square, demanding an explanation for Khufu's disappearance. The tribe's elder tells him to go away and says he's already sent someone, but Liyuani wants to know what they found out. The leader calls for the guards. One of the guards approaches, and the elder asks what happened to our hero's slave, who didn't come back. The man explains that Khufu didn't get along with the others, so she was working alone in a corner. He continues, saying he heard from other slaves that she was taken by someone from the Dark Tribe. Furiously, Liyuani grabs him by the collar and yells at him for not doing his job of protecting her. The guard defends himself, saying she's just a slave, and that if she's gone, our hero can just buy another one. Filled with rage, Liyuani can't take it anymore and tries to punch the guard in the face, calling him useless for his incompetence. But the man manages to block the punch. The two of them then start wrestling on the ground while the crowd around them comments that without Khufu, he'll be worthless and can't afford another slave. Then the two of them stop fighting. He then backs away and declares for everyone to hear that Khufu was taken, not just eliminated. With a look full of determination, our protagonist swears that he will definitely rescue her. Then he turns and leaves while the others mock him for acting like a king over a mere slave. Back at his house, the system points out that even with the changes, the fact that Khufu gets captured didn't change. Doing explains that if they rescue her before the original hero does, they'll have the advantage, and our boy agrees. Then we see the city gate, where another pair of reincarnated individuals are discussing their plans. The original protagonist asks his system about the other system he detected in this world. The hero's system, named Shuai Ding, replies that it can't locate the other enemy system at the moment. Shi Tianrui comments that Khufu's master should have passed on but is still alive and wonders if he's the other user. His system calms him down, saying he's just an extra and that the main story still revolves around him. With a confident smile, the hero says he will rescue Khufu and turn her into a gentle little lamb. The system agrees, saying that because Liyuani mistreats her, he's indirectly helping him win her over. Meanwhile, our protagonist suddenly sneezes and wonders who's talking smack about him behind his back.